Hi there folks, and welcome to this episode of Michael's Backyard Marina. Well, if you've been following me for a bit, I've had 2 episodes here on this 35 horse Evinrude that I've been working on. The last video you saw it running my test tank, ran like a top, but that doesn't tell the whole story. That plan that day when I had that running was to leave here. You know, we mounted it on the boat. I mean, I was so confident. I ran bolts through my transom thinking this thing was going to do what I wanted it to do. But lo and behold, I'm still learning, and I'll admit to that every day. I learn something new every day. But the guy hasn't given me permission to shout out his name. One of my viewers made a comment, and I'll tell you what this thing was doing. Let me tell you what this thing was doing first. So we get out in the water. I got the 15 pitch prop on it, right? We're out there, I drop it in the water. It's windy, it's rough. There's 100 people out there with boats in this lake, and it's rough and terrible and all that fun stuff. Well, so we get out there, fire it up, back it off the trailer, waiting for my son to come hop in the boat. He hops in the boat. I'm thinking, forward we go. Put it in forward, get the throttle, started getting up a little speed, you know, and then I was gonna crack it open, this thing, hopefully jump up on plane and go. Didn't happen. It bogs down pretty heavy. It's like, it actually like it wanted to go, but then it just bogged off real fast. I mean, it just nosed over on power real fast. So I thought, man, we tried it a few more times. It was idling great, and when you go to give it the throttle to take off, and it felt like it had all kinds of punch, and then the punch just fell off after, you know, a very short amount of time. Never got it up on plane. We got up to like 8 miles an hour. That's not acceptable. Well, I did this several times, and I told my son, I'm like, well, let's just go ahead and put the 13 pitch prop on and see if we get a little more gusto out of it. So 13 pitch prop, there you go, took off a little harder, like it should. And still, you know, once I had it full throttle and it was act like it was going to do something, then it started not doing something. It just kind of felt like it was starving on fuel or something. So we could hit a total of 9 miles per hour. Never got up on plane for sure. Well, then I told my son, I said, we're done. Something's not quite right with this. I need to dig into it. We got to fix some things yet. Like I said, I'm still learning as we go, folks. Well, here's what I found out. He went to get the trailer with the tow vehicle, and while he was up there waiting in line to back down the ramp, I got back out past the no wake area and I nailed it again. Now, keep in mind, I weighed this boat after we came back. With the boat and trailer weighs 1,260 pounds. And this trailer is not a heavy-duty trailer. If this trailer weighs 250 pounds, I would be surprised. I could stand at the back of the trailer and pick it up when it was empty. So I'm guessing the boat's a good 1,000 pounds. And that's kind of heavy. I mean, I've got 3 big batteries in here, and I've got, you know, foam throughout, full tank of gas, halfway decent motor on it. And so she's adding up to low weight. And it's a 1972 fiberglass boat, which has got, you know, a decent amount of glass in it. Well, and by the time you add my 292 pounds and my son's 275 pounds, that's a lot of weight in a boat. Well, so when he got out, I thought, well, I'll take it for a quick pop and see what it'll do. Well, sure enough, I set my miles per hour on my GPS on my phone, and I nailed the throttle, and sure enough, the bow rises up like it should, and it jumps up on the plane, and it's just starting to gain some good speed. It hits like 18 miles an hour and just as it climbed up there fast, and it just nosed over hard on power. And then it just did it again. So I did that 3-4 times, actually. Get up on plane, and it would go, and then it just kind of, you know, 18 miles an hour, and then the engine would just start to die. Well, I'm like, golly. Well, I said, well, that makes me feel better that the 13 pitch prop may not be all bad, but I do have a 12 pitch and a 11 pitch coming. Just because I want to, it's going to be me and somebody else in the boat generally, and I want to be able this thing to be able to perform. And I'm not looking for speed, but I definitely want to get up on plane and be able to control this thing and go across some wakes. I mean, the wakes I was hitting, 2 and 3 foot wakes, well, probably 2 foot, 3 foot, some of them probably. This thing just sucks it up so good. That mini tri-hull up front just soaks up the waves so nice. You don't even feel like, it's not jarring at all. Well, we get home and I started checking my comments. And here's where I come to the realization I made a mistake. So that's the first thing I will admit. I do make mistakes, folks. Well, this person left a comment and said, pretty simple comment. It says, you put the float upside down when you reassemble the carburetor. That's all they said. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So I went back and reviewed the video. The nice thing about the video, I watched the part where I took it apart, and I watched the part where I put it together, and yes, I put the frickin' float upside down on the carburetor. I couldn't believe it. And I was in the habit of looking at, there's a groove on the float, and we'll get into this here in a minute, but that's one of the things I'm pretty sure I did completely wrong, and that's why it was running out of fuel. If we look at how I assembled it, we'll look into that when I get it off. You'll see that most likely, from what I could see, that thing's starving for fuel hard, and it don't take long to suck that bowl dry on a 35 horse. Anyway, we're going to get in here and pull that apart. The other thing I want to check is the timing. I saw there were some bulletins on how to set the timing a little different on 30 horses. And I mean the 25, 20, 30, and 20, I'm sorry, yeah, 20, 25, 30, and 35 horse is the same block, the same setup. Maybe a little different reed valve and a little different carburetor, obviously, to make it breathe better. Basically, more air, more gas, more power. So that's how they do it. So I'm gonna double check the timing, because this thing fired up and ran beautifully, you know, in the tank just for quick snaps. I feel like everything was right, but I want to double check the timing. That way we'll put it on muffs, I'll fire it up, and then we'll hopefully go to the lake again early this Saturday morning before all the people get there and create a bunch of waves, and we can get you some awesome drone footage and hopefully see this thing jump up on plane and see if the drone can keep up with it, which I feel it will, because the drone will do almost 40, so, and this won't do 40. But so let's dig in here. I got a little bit of daylight left today. I've got to work on this thing outside right now in the shade because my shop's full of stuff. I'd love to just back it in there. The shop's air conditioned. It'd be a nice cool place to work when it's 88 and 90 degrees outside, but I got to do what I got to do. And but yeah, we're going to pull the carburetor back off, and we're also going to I'm going to check the timing and everything. I'm going to walk you guys through step by step what I'm going through and what I'm discovering. And that way, if anybody else sees something I'm doing wrong, you can leave a comment and help guide me along and guide everybody else along. Because like I said, I'll share my mistakes and I'll share my wins with you, and we'll all learn together. So let's get this cover off. And I'm excited about this too. People out there, and I am not sponsored by these guys, not even a little bit. I bought this with my own cash. But I've been wanting an outdoor set of wrenches, so to speak. I got my indoor set that's all in my toolbox and all that fun stuff, but I'm started to work on that big boat out in the backyard, and trying to put all my tools in a bag and transform back and forth is a pain in the butt. So I just bought me for $119. It's I don't know how many piece, 121 piece, comes with wrenches, metric, standard, some Allen wrenches, 1/2 inch, 3/8, a 1/4 inch drive, a couple extensions. We're gonna see how much I can work on this with just this kit. So without further ado, let's jump in and get after it. First thing I did is disconnect the negative terminal on the battery so I don't accidentally create any sparks and ruin stuff. Let's pull the air box off. Now we're going to pull these two screws out. Now one guy did tell me that most likely, he said there's supposed to be one of these little sheet metal looking brackets on both sides of this piece. Ooh, glad I saw that screw. Like this guy here, there's supposed to be one on each side, which that makes sense because I did find that other one and it might have just fallen and I just luckily found it. So we got that out of the way. Another piece we got to remove is this bolt right here. Now this little bolt here I'm turning just to loosen it up so I can pull this starter solenoid out of the way so I can get at the bolt down below here. And with that out of the way, I can get this other bolt back here. Probably can't see it very well. Got that bolt free. You gotta take this one out of the top. Now there's enough slack in the wires that I can pull that over and out of the way. A guy there on the comments told me I could do that. I learn something new every day. All we got left to do now is take the fuel line off. All right, carburetor is free. I'm gonna park this inside, and then we'll take this little show in the shop, and I'll show you what I did wrong. All right, let's open it up and see what I didn't do right. Now, just for fun, I'm going to measure roughly how far this is off the, sitting where it's at, how far it is off the bottom. It's about 821. Oh man, look at that. $840. That only allowed about, I'm embarrassed. That only allowed about 20 thousandths movement there is all of opening. Not much at all. That's sad. Sad that I did that. So see this little bump here? That's where this groove is supposed to be. Right here. Not to mention, I'll show you this here too. This little arm, maybe I can show you better. I want to send it out of it. This little arm is not on center of the float. So it's set up higher in the bowl to start with, plus that groove, now it can move quite a bit and really open that thing up. Mercy sakes alive. I can't believe I did that, but I'm so used to these having a, oh, I don't know if I can show you on one of these. This one don't even have it. I'm used to some of these having that groove on the other side toward the bore that goes through here because it helps dodge that so it could come up and shut off. Well, this is the opposite, just to let it come down and open up. Oh well. Lesson learned. That's why it ran out of fuel so fast. It could barely let anything in. Surprised it ran as hard as it did. Man, I get it so that thing can really drink some fuel. Look out. Well, just that simple. It's ready to go back on the boat. Tomorrow after work, when it's sunny out, I'll bolt that bad boy back on and we'll check some timing. And we want to make sure that when this throttle is opened up, when this thing hits full throttle, that butterfly on this end here, I want to make sure that thing is coming wide open. I have a sneaky suspicion it's setting about right there, but I want to make sure wide open is wide open. So we're going to double check that along with some timing set up. But that'll be tomorrow night. See you in a couple seconds. Okay guys, I screwed up my audio and now I'm having to do a little voiceover here. So we're putting the carburetor back on after the rebuild. We're tightening up our two 7/16 nuts with our wrench, and then we'll move on to putting the starter back in place and finessing that back in. It should just slide right back in once we get both of these nuts tight. Don't over tighten them. It is just aluminum and it is just a carburetor. The nuts are steel. So let's get this linkage put back on. Don't forget to snap that back in place, otherwise your throttle's not going to work very well. And then I'm checking to make sure all the linkages are working like they are supposed to, so it's the choke's working and all that fun stuff, moving freely, nothing's in a bind. Now we're going to get this starter slid back up into place here. It slides on that stud on the very front. We're going to get that bottomed out. It's also got to sneak behind that arm a little bit on the throttle arm, back behind it. Once we get that back in place, don't do what I did here and put the nut bolt back on without putting it on the ground screw or the ground. We'll get that back in and tightened up. We'll tighten up the front nut here. There's another nut on top that we tightened up that has a start on the starter housing. Now I'm going to go in and clean up these pieces I have that I found an extra one of. It wasn't an extra, it's one of the viewers commented and said there's supposed to be one behind it and one in front of it. So I cleaned them all up and I put some marine grease on it, and we're putting the one behind and the one in front. And we'll pop this back in place. Now the one thing I'm doing out of order here, and you'll see shortly, is there's a bolt that holds the starter relay in place that I should have put the starter relay in place first so I can get to that nut, and I end up having to pull this back off for a moment to get that nut here, and you'll see the nut I'm talking about. I'll point it out here in just 1 second. So right below my screwdriver there's a nut or bolt that's pointing kind of straight down or down at an angle. That's the one you can't get out while this arm is in place. So I ended up taking this arm back loose again so I could actually put the starter solenoid back in place. And I'm just telling you guys this so you don't make the same mistake I made and save yourself a step or two. Now we're going to finesse this thing, put the rubber back around the starter solenoid and stick it back in place. And then we'll tighten that nut down, and then we'll put the bolts back into that arm I was just talking about. So we get that snug down so it's not going anywhere. And then we'll put these screws back in once again. Now I'm checking to make sure everything's free, there's no binding. So I'm going to show you that little piece right there. I'm going to make sure I'm adjusting this next in the video to make sure this is supposed to be throwing that butterfly wide open on the throttle linkage. That's down in there. You can't see it. You can see it from here, but I'm not doing that right now. Right there, there's some timing marks that are supposed to be on this little ramp that I kind of tried to point at there. There's some total timing marks, and this thing is supposed to start to move the throttle a little bit right when those timing marks hit that roller. And I'm going to double check an updated bulletin to see if these are supposed to be now a quarter to a half inch past that. I think they did that to eliminate some low speed cough that some of these motors had. Don't know if it particularly applies to this one, but I'm going to do some research and before I set everything up, and I'll let you know what I find out. So we'll be right back here in just a minute, and we'll put this thing, we'll be about ready to fire this thing back up as soon as I get all the link and sync taken care of. Okay, one of the things I wanted to check out here is there's two marks. I'm going to see if I can get you in the shot here. So there's two little timing marks right here where my screwdriver is pointing. And when you're throttled all the way down, you're back here. When you're throttling forward, this throttle here should just barely be touching right here, right when it hits these marks. Now, when it gets to this point in the travel, the handle still moves, but it doesn't move this anymore. I'll show you what it does move though. So when I'm moving my throttle here, you can see that it moves the timing here, but when it gets to a certain point, when it's supposed to hit this little guy right here and throw the butterfly wide open. But it's only coming up and just barely touching it. Butterfly is just barely cracking open. So we're going to make an adjustment here, and I'm going to put you in here so you can see the butterfly. As you can see here, wide open is barely moving it. When wide open, it should be shoving it wide open. So what I'm going to do is back this little lock screw off, move this to the wide open position, slide the little locking pin back. Now when I come forward to this point, the timing quits moving and the wide open throttle engages. So that butterfly goes in there, just lays wide open flat. Then you got all the air flowing and all the fuel flowing. It just makes contact on that second notch and then starts opening it up a little bit. Then it's game on from there. I think we're going to try it right there. Let's hook the battery up, put the water on it, we'll see it and the fuel to it and see what it does. The battery, I'll back out now for you guys so you can see more. Let's get the muffs on it and we'll go from there. All right, we got the water going. Plug in our fuel line, pump the bulb up here. Now I'm going to try it without the choke at first. cold yet. I'd say that's good to go. We'll put the air box back on, choke lever. We'll say this bad boy is ready to rock and freaking roll. All right, now that we got the outboard ready to rock and roll, I got a little attention to my trailer. I need to pay attention to it, a little attention to pay. I gotta pay attention to my trailer. I've got a roller that is split and could be doing, it has done a little bit of damage already to my trailer, or to my boat, not my trailer, but my boat. And I need to get this thing, a new roller in here. Now this one was a little unique because this is a 3.5 inch wide, and that's not a very common size at all. It looks like I need to actually do some welding on here in the very near future. But what I bought was this guy. Check this out. It's got a double bell on it, 3.5 inch wide. That's gonna go up here and protect my boat from hitting any of this stuff in case I get a little wonky and get into the trailer. But let's, this particular one has a, I believe it's a 1/2 inch bolt, and what's on there is 3/8. So we're gonna have to open this up a little bit. We're gonna cut that off and then we'll open this up. Not too worried about saving this shaft. So we're just gonna see if we can grind it without getting my strap in the way. We're just gonna grind it in two. Easy peasy, right? Now we'll drill it out. That's a sweet setup there. That's a sweet setup there. That's going to protect it real well. You gotta like that. All right, there you have it. We just got a few tools to put away. And the outboard, I think, is ready to go. There's a few things I didn't do before we went out last time. Obviously, having the float upside down was a big problem. But that link and sink, I'm not sure I had that quite right either. If it works right, I'll show you exactly what I did. If it works wrong, I'll fix it and show you exactly what I did to fix it. I'm gonna take a handful of tools with me to the lake just in case I need to put anything back together. But yeah, we got a new bow roller back on. It's going to protect the front of that boat real nice. It's going to last a long time. I'll leave a link in the description below to everything I use here. I'll leave a link in the description below. Hey folks, I got props I'm taking with me tomorrow. I've got a 15 pitch. I got a 13 pitch that's currently on it. I've got a 12 and an 11 that I'm taking with me. This boat is going to get up on plane tomorrow. So help me, goodness gracious, it's got to do it. I think, I don't know which is going to work. I had the 15 pitch out there, and then we switched to the 13, but there was absolutely nothing right about what was going on with this outboard, carburation-wise. All my fault. But you guys learn right along with me, and guys, if you see anything in this video that doesn't quite smell right, let me know. We'll do a retraction, or not retraction, but a correction. If need be. But yeah, I'm going to take all 4 props with me for this boat. I want to try it up. I want to see with myself and my son on the boat, which is the 2 heaviest people I know on the boat that will be on this boat. I want to make sure it gets up on plane and goes. Because once it's up on plane, if like it is on my other boat, once it's up on plane, it goes. It'll hit wide open throttle and all that fun stuff. Once it breaks that resistance and gets up there, man, the bugs are out here in force. But we're going to get out there and run this motor tomorrow, and we're going to hopefully get some great drone footage. We'll do some stats. I'll probably actually depends on how it goes. But what I'd love to do is run the 11, 12, 13, and 15 pitch prop on here and give you some performance differences on a roughly 1,000-pound boat with about a little under 600 pounds worth of passenger. And so that way, when you're making a prop decision, you kind of know what your boat weighs and you know what kind of motor you're running, or 35 horse that you're running. You can make some proper decisions, pun intended. But that's, we're going to call it a wrap until the morning. I'm going to be up at the lake at 6 a.m. before a lot of people are there and a lot of recreational boats are out there. So we can have some clean water to play in, and not a lot of rough seas, and the wind should be pretty calm in the morning. Typically it is, not very windy in the morning. And we'll see how this thing does. 3rd time's the charm. I've been out in this boat twice. I have not enjoyed it twice, other than it floats well, and that's about it. So let's get this thing on the water. I'm excited to get this thing out there. It's been a long time coming. There's several of you out there that's been saying, let's see this boat on the water. Let's see that motor in the water. Let's see what it does. Hopefully I got me a great fishing combination here, because I'm not looking to set the world on fire. I want to get up on plane. I want to do better than 20 miles an hour so I can go to point A to point B and then drop the trolling motor and see if I can fish for some bass in the very near future here. That's my goal. That's my end game with this boat. And once I got this thing rocking and rolling, I can move on to my next project. I got more motors to work on, guys, so stay tuned for that. See you in the morning. We're heading to the lake. All right, folks, we're out here. As you can see, this thing's running like a champ. I haven't mounted this yet, though. But listen to this. You're in gear. I'm in gear, it won't let me start. Thank you, co-pilot. Well, let's see how she goes. Well, folks, there you have it. We had a success. What are you looking at? I'm trying to record here. Fans, they're just everywhere. My wife's peeking at me through the window. Shaking her head like she's not a fan. Anyway, folks, we had a great time on the water today. We got out there early. We got this old outboard running like a top. As you saw in the videos there, this thing will zip right along. We only ended up using 2 props. I started off with a 13 pitch prop. It gets up on the plane. It would hit about 18 to 19 and it hit 20 miles an hour with 2 people in us, 2 people on the boat. But man, was it slow to get up and get going out of the water, get up on plane. So I was going to drop back down to 12 pitch prop, but I thought, well, let's just go to another extreme, and I dropped down to the 11 pitch that I had. And man alive, that was a difference. It actually, when you nail the throttle, you feel it pull, and it raises that bow up and gets it going. Got up on plane in, oh geez, a quarter of the time. The interesting part is the RPMs obviously climb higher because you got that lower pitch prop. But I actually was able to get more top speed because it was a 10.5 inch diameter 11 pitch prop versus I think it was a 10.1 inch diameter 13 pitch prop. But the 13 pitch prop would never let it get up to its potential RPM and horsepower. These things are rated, most vehicles are rated at a certain horsepower at a certain RPM. Well, the 11 pitch prop allowed this thing to get up into its RPM range where it's, hitting peak horsepower. And that's why I was able to hit 22 miles an hour with it. And I also hit 27 miles an hour when I was by myself. And actually I had this pin, I had it pitched, the trimmed up on the hole number 4 from being all the way down. And by myself, it would actually start to porpoise a little bit. The front end would just start to porpoise. So if I was by myself out there fishing, zipping around, I'd have it down on the pin number 3. And just use this 11 pitch prop. I'm thrilled as all get out that this worked like it did. This thing starts, idles, revs up, goes. There's no dead spots. There's no cough. There's no anything. I couldn't ask for it to turn out any better. And the crazy part of it all, now, I divulge a few things. I paid $300 for this outboard. Like I said, the person that had this outboard was tired of messing with it, couldn't get it to run right. The only real major issue that I discovered, it was the fuel pump screw was the wrong screw. It wasn't screwed up tight against the block, so the fuel pump wouldn't work properly. It would only run with the fuel that was in the bowl when you squeezed up the bulb to prime it, to fill the carburetor up before you start it. But I tell you what, this thing actually, that's the main thing I found. A little plastic piece, the little rubber O-ring around the air mixture screw, replaced that. And obviously, besides me putting the float in upside down, and then I corrected that, I also adjusted the linkage so that when your throttle's wide open, the butterfly is laid full flat and got the timing set where I want it. Just a small handful of things. So actually, the only thing I bought, carb kit, about $14, $15, something like that, maybe. I'd have to look. Prop, yes, I did buy extra props, but let's just count the one prop I do have. Prop was about 76 bucks. Some gear oil, and what else did I do to this thing? For the outboard, that's about all I did. I can't think of anything else. It runs. So anyway, I feel like I got into this motor reasonably priced. This is going to live on this boat until honestly, if I get a 50 horse comes along, whether it's a 2-stroke or 4-stroke, I'll probably upgrade this boat to a 50 horse. That's what the guy that bought it from originally said was on it was a 50 horse Johnson, I believe, and he sold it off the boat. Don't be afraid to go back. If you guys, if this is the first video you're seeing, this old banana boat here, there's about a 5-part restoration of what I did on the interior of this thing. And then there's 3 parts. This is part 3 for this particular outboard. I'm in search of, the one thing I still want to put on this boat to make it a primo fisher for me, and what I enjoy using is I want a trolling motor, 24 volt trolling motor with directional navigation. I shouldn't say directional. It's I'm drawing a blank on what it's called. I forget what the feature's called, but it's when you lock it on a direction and it'll stay pointing in that same direction. Can't remember what that's called now. But I wanted to be able to do that because that's kind of nice to have. I don't need it really fancy, just that piece and a spot lock. And you guys might ask why spot lock. I said because spot lock is an awesome anchor. My other boat that has that feature on it, I use it. I'll be trolling along, looking for fish, bank fishing, shoreline casting, stuff like that. And I'll find some fish that I'm over, and I can just hit that spot lock, and it'll lock me onto that location, and I can fish that area for a little bit without having to throw out an anchor. Yeah, I carry an anchor in my boats just for anchor's sake, but I don't use them to hold me in place. I use my trolling motor to hold me in place. That's the best way to go. Anyway, I want to find me a trolling motor with a spot lock on it and that directional navigation course, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, but now this boat's, for all practical purposes, is done. I'm going to actually install some rod holders in here and get me some fishing poles in this boat, because this is what it's all about, is going fishing. I've got all the fun stuff done. Now it's time to do more fun stuff. It's been a long time coming. It's been well over a year. I remember last 4th of July when we had the family out here, I was putting fiberglass resin in this boat in my shop. And so this is almost a year later, and we've got it back on the water for the 3rd time successful trip. I'm pleased as punch. This thing pushes this boat along just fine. Don't need anything more. I know people have been commenting, maybe I should paint this. No, I'm not about painting a whole lot of stuff a lot of times. I'm like functional, reliable, and fun. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you had as much fun watching as I did creating it. I'm pleased as punch at how this thing turned out, and I can't wait to get it back on some more. Most likely tomorrow. I'm going to put some fishing poles in it and go fishing. Now that we've got all the testing out of the way, and maybe I'll have some footage in upcoming videos of fishing. But so if you want to watch, we got quite a bit of drone footage today. I want you to, if you don't mind, you can hang in and watch the drone footage at the end. This thing just zipping across the lake. I gave you quite a bit of footage right there toward the end of this video. And if you got any questions, don't be afraid to leave comments below. Everything I used in this video that I can think of, I will put in the links in the description below to get you to those products or items or website. And I don't always say this very often. I usually put words at the end, but hey, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe if you want to see more content or be notified when I have content, and hit that thumbs up for me. It's much appreciated. It helps me out on the algorithms with YouTube and gets my videos recommended more often, so I can keep bringing you more content like this. I know a few people complain about the commercials in there, but you know, if you look at it overall, if you watch regular TV, your commercials, you might watch, you'll be 2, 3, 4 minutes of commercials, maybe even up to 10 minutes of commercials per hour. It's probably more than that even. It's been so long since I watched regular TV. But, there's probably 20 seconds to 30 seconds worth of ads that, skippable ads that you have to watch to get through this video. And I appreciate it. That's how I get to make a little bit of money doing this, and so I can keep affording to bring you guys this content, because it does take some effort and it does take some time, and it does take, a lot of times twice as long for me to do stuff, especially working on motors like this, because I am sitting with the cameras, getting the shots, and then have to go and edit it and all that fun stuff. So, but I appreciate other people that do it for me, because I've learned a lot watching a lot of other videos, and I want to share, to give back that way to you folks so you guys can enjoy videos. Anyway, one last plug. If you've made it this far, it's much appreciated. I now have 10,000 subscribers. Thank you all so much. And I have turned on a merchandise with Spring. You'll see it down at the bottom of the video. Look below the video. There'll be t-shirts and stuff down there below. I've got a few t-shirts out there. One of my favorite ones that you guys have been hearing me say this a little bit lately. If it ain't broke, fix it till it is. You can get a t-shirt with that on the back of it, and with RMD Creations on the front of it. If you're so inclined, you want one of the t-shirts, feel free to go there. purchase a t-shirt. Spring takes your orders, they print them out, they fulfill the order and send it to you. And give me some feedback on the quality of their stuff. Because I did order a couple t-shirts about a year ago, but I wasn't ready to turn it. I didn't have 10,000 subscribers a year ago. I found out that's what I needed to turn on a merchandise account like that. But I bought a couple of t-shirts, and they were nice heavy-duty t-shirts. And you know, I want things to be quality. So if you get any stuff that's not quality, let me know. I will unpick and take that off my store. Because I only want good quality merchandise to be on there. There's going to be some mugs on there, stainless mugs, coffee cups, stuff like that. So when you buy that stuff, it also helps the channel out as well. Not saying you have to buy it. It's fantastic if you do. I've ordered a couple things for myself just to have in the videos, and I'll show you guys on the next video. I should have by then. I kind of show you what some of the stuff is. So anyway, this is Michael saying get out there and have some fun. If you're not having fun, you got to ask yourself why not. And make sure, if it ain't broke, fix it till it is. I'm out. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. The baby runs, the baby runs. Ooh, the motor runs so good. Pop!